concerns being raised by Ghanaians and the international media, we are told that some 40 more people are due to arrive in the country pursuant to this same unconstitutional agreement. We have taken note of the comments by the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs to the effect that the agreement with the United States is a memorandum of understanding and will require parliamentary approval only when it is, in his words, elevated to the status of an agreement. The minister further claimed that both the Honorable Attorney General of Ghana and that of the United States have advised that the agreement does not need parliamentary approval. We wish to remind the Honorable Minister that the Constitution makes no such distinction between formal agreements and memorandum of understanding. As held by the Supreme Court in the Bamford case, the provision even covers agreements reached by note verbals. The attempts by the minister to downplay this agreement in the face of this clear provision of the Constitution is very disturbing. Indeed, in the case of Broja Jemfi and Attorney General, the government of President Akufo-Addo, in consonance with Article 75 of our Constitution, laid before Parliament a defense cooperation agreement with the United States of America for ratification, even though the said agreement had not been signed. The Supreme Court held that the then government was right in laying the said agreement before Parliament, for even such unsigned agreements come under Article 75 once government takes steps to implement same. It is therefore irrelevant whether the agreement is signed or it is called an agreement or a memorandum of understanding or by exchange of note verbals. Parliamentary ratification is required for the implementation of any such agreement. We are also shocked by the Honorable Minister's claim that the Honorable Attorney General advised Cabinet that this agreement does not require parliamentary approval. The Attorney General of the Republic was the Deputy Attorney General when the decision in the Bamford case was delivered by the Supreme Court. He cannot therefore feign ignorance about this case and purport to give a legal opinion which therefore contradicts the decision of the Supreme Court, if indeed he did. The opinion of the United States Attorney General, if it was indeed given, is of no consequence in our country, as both the constitutional provision and the Supreme Court decision are very clear. Indeed, the Supreme Court held in the Bamford case that the distinction in the United States between executive agreements, which does not require the approval of Congress, and treaties, which require such approval, are not applicable in Ghana in the light of the clear constitutional provision in Article 75. The government's conduct in operationalizing the agreement with the United States without parliamentary ratification is a direct constitutional violation of Article 75 and an affront to the authority of the Supreme Court. It is therefore deeply concerning that the government continues to operationalize the agreement with the United States despite these flagrant constitutional breaches. Such conduct reflects a lack of respect for the rule of law, which is one of the fundamental pillars of our constitutional democracy. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, beyond this blatant constitutional breach, the agreement raises pressing concerns of sovereignty, security, and policy. While regional integration remains a core value of our foreign policy, it cannot be stretched to justify the forced deportation of foreign nationals deported from other countries. The ECOWAS Protocol on Free Movement concerns voluntary travel, not forced deportations orchestrated by a non-ECOWAS state. On the international stage, the foreign policy consequences of this agreement are equally alarming. Ghana has, over the years, built a proud reputation for principled diplomacy rooted in non-alignment, regional solidarity, and respect for human rights. The decision to serve as a receiving point for West African deportees against their wishes with emphasis from the United States risks our country being perceived as aligning itself with the United States government's current immigration enforcement regime, one which has been criticized as harsh and discriminatory. To associate Ghana with such policies could have several negative implications for our country, particularly within the African continent. We therefore reiterate our call on the government to suspend with immediate effect the unconstitutional implementation of this agreement until Parliament has duly exercised its constitutional mandate to scrutinize same and ratify it or otherwise. We further urge government to provide full clarity on the processes, safeguards, and other broader implications associated with receiving these deportees, including the measures, if any, that have been taken to protect Ghana's security interests, Ghana's foreign policy, and the Gaza conflict. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we have also taken note of recent public pronouncements made by the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs on the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip. In those remarks, the minister characterized the development in Gaza as, and I quote, genocide, end quote, and further indicated that Ghana has made clear its position in engagements with Israeli authorities, while also expressing solidarity with the Palestinian people. While we recognize the need for Ghana to remain an active voice in the international community and to speak on matters implicating humanitarian concerns and respect for international law, we must emphasize the importance of consistency and balance in such pronouncements. Article 40 of our national constitution provides broad principles to guide Ghana's international relations. These include the promotion and protection of Ghana's national interests, adherence to international law and treaty obligations, and the fostering of respect for international cooperation. Since our country's independence, Ghana's diplomacy under successive administration has been guided by the principles of non-alignment, mutual respect, and peaceful coexistence. This enduring posture has enabled successive governments to engage credibly with all sides in situations of conflict, while preserving Ghana's role as a respected and impartial voice of peace, dialogue, and rule of law. By describing the events in Gaza in absolute terms and aligning the country explicitly with one side in a highly polarized conflict, the government risks compromising the delicate balance that has long safeguarded Ghana's credibility as an impartial actor on the international stage. Our tradition has been to call for peace, dialogue, and adherence to international law without issuing declarations that may prejudice our ability to play a mediating or bridge-building role. Successive governments have, over decades, interpreted and applied these principles by maintaining a posture of independence and impartiality in international conflicts. It is therefore crucial, ladies and gentlemen of the press, that in responding to this conflict, Ghana's official statements continue along this tradition, speaking clearly to the need for peace, the protection of civilians, and adherence to international law, by doing so in a manner that avoids the perception of taking sides in a very deeply divisive conflict. The Minority Caucus wishes to emphasize that Ghana's enduring strength in international relations has always come from its ability to maintain independence, neutrality, and credibility, even when global powers have sought to draw us into their competing blocs. Departures from this tradition, if not checked, could diminish our moral authority on the international stage and compromise our wider national interests. We therefore call on the government to exercise caution and be consistent in articulating Ghana's foreign policy positions, particularly on sensitive international conflicts, such as the Gaza conflict. The government must ensure that Ghana's position reflects our long-standing commitment to non-alignment, multilateralism, and principled diplomacy, rather than hasty or unilateral declarations. Calm, measured, and nuanced diplomacy is essential for the conduct of our foreign policy in general and for addressing volatile situations such as the current conflict in particular. As members of Parliament, we take this opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to defending the sovereignty of our nation, upholding the Constitution, and preserving Ghana's hard-earned reputation as a principled and respected actor on the international stage, and will therefore be unrelentless in holding the government accountable in the conduct of our nation's foreign policy. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member of Parliament and the ranking for Foreign Affairs. The Honourable Member is willing to take questions. So Please, if you have any, if you do not, then we would have to call it a day. But if you have any questions, please let us see by heart those who. Yes, GH1. GH1.
Yeah, it's off. It's off. Mine is off. Oh, but you can speak.
We can hear you, or because it's being carried. It's come.
Leader and ranking, two quick things. First of all, the minister related to the MOU, as you mentioned, and his argument is that contrary to what has been determined at the court, because it's an MOU, even though at the point we had a note verbal that became the subject of controversy at the court, this one doesn't require ratification of Parliament. You indicated, and he rightly mentioned, that we are expecting over 40 more deportees. First of all, what do you make of the fact that, regardless of the fact that these individuals were in court, nonetheless, as a country, we deported them? And I'm talking about the 11 who have so far been deported. And again, from now till Parliament returns, what action will you take? And is there any action that you can take to ensure that there's that respect of the Constitution, as you mentioned? And finally, the United Nations General Assembly is ongoing in the US. You and your ranking are here, your deputy are here. Why? Why is that the case?
Please. Yes, thank you very much. I don't know, honorable member, would you want to have all the questions?
Yeah, let me answer this.
Okay, very well.
Yeah, so thank you very much, GH1. The first point is that it should be interesting to see the opinion of the Attorney General, if it was given at all. Because I am not sure that the Attorney General will give this kind of opinion, but it should be interesting to see his opinion. And secondly, to make the point that it is totally erroneous to come to the conclusion that MOUs are not agreements. I mean, this has been established, that it will depend on the provisions of an MOU. If there are binding provisions which occasion rights and obligation, the courts have held that it doesn't matter how you describe it. They will construe it as an agreement if it has the ingredients of an agreement. Thirdly, the Supreme Court went as far as categorizing MOUs as being part of the gamut of instruments pursuant to Article 75, which requires parliamentary ratification. And it went as far as saying mere exchange of note verbals, and note verbal simply means exchange of correspondence, will require parliamentary ratification if it imposes obligation on the Republic of Ghana. So with the greatest of respect to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, I think on this particular occasion he's flatly wrong. This MOU requires parliamentary ratification. There's absolutely no two ways about that. And I want to believe that the Attorney General himself will come to this kind of conclusion. And if he doesn't, it will be useful to see his opinion. The second question about the 11 deportees who have been further deported is just evidence it buttresses the point we are making and the call we are making, which is that if this MOU was laid before Parliament and scrutinized, I believe that certain safeguards would have been advocated on the floor of Parliament to ensure that we have the necessary framework in dealing with these situations. And then, of course, the issues of human rights which we raised. These persons who have been brought here, they've been brought here against their will. It's not that they want to come to Ghana. They've been deported against their wishes. And we all know the controversy surrounding the immigration policy of the United States today. So that really affirms the position that we have taken. The absence of myself or my deputy at the United Nations, I was Deputy Chief of Staff from 2017 to 2021. I was Minister from 2021 to 2025. And on every occasion of anger, Minister Okudzeto Ablakwa was there as ranking. He was always in the chamber. I've been with him several times in the chamber when the president addresses the nation. The reason why the tradition has been established that the ranking should be at the UN General Assembly is because largely when the president is on that stage, he's there for all of Ghana. And it's important that all of us, the various actors in the body politic of Ghana, are seen to be supporting the president. And all of us are lifting and holding the flag of Ghana, which is why Minister Okudzeto Ablakwa, when he was ranking, was consistently at UN General Assembly for 8 successive years. on the occasion when he has become Minister for Foreign Affairs, he has conveniently decided that none of us should be there. But why are we not there? You have to ask the minister, not me. The minister has to answer that question. Yeah, because my deputy was willing and eager to go and assist in raising the flag of Ghana, only for him to get to check-in counter and and he's denied access. But anyway, I haven't spoken to the minister about this matter. So to be fair to him, I think we should hold our guns and have an occasion to have a conversation with him, and then we'll try and resolve this. Thank you.
All right. Yes. Prince, you want the opportunity from UTV. Is it UTV or UTV at least? UTV.
Thank you. I think the current Attorney General was the Deputy Attorney General by then when this boundary issue came up. And I think they refer to Article 75, which deals with the ratification of Parliament. So is it a case that this current government doesn't recognize the Constitution? Is that the case? Or let me borrow the earlier speaker's word. If they fail to do the ratification with a minority state demonstration. Thank you.
Okay, we can do one more.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Please, your name and which station you?
My name is Christian SSN for the insight and NR News, Natural Resources. On the principle of non-alignment, you know, when you mentioned that, I was just smiling because 2 years ago, current Minister Blackwell sounded same as you sounded when President Akufo-Addo made a pronouncement. I mean, that sort of condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And he mentioned the same thing that government must be seen to be following the principles of Nkrumah, the non-aligned, status. And you are repeating same. And so what is wrong? Is it that when it suits you, you pick and choose when it suits you? And lastly, you mentioned these are, the president mentioned during his encounter with the media, these are African nationals. I mean, ECOWAS nationals. And so when they are stranded, Ghana, as hospitable as we are, we have to offer them home. So why don't we look at it in that way rather than being too hard on ourselves? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Prince of UTV wants to know about whether the government is just so happy to breach provisions of our national constitution. I think the statement that I read here and the argument we've made is very clear. It's absolutely clear on the face of the provisions of the Constitution, and fortunately multiple cases have been determined by the Supreme Court where this matter has been laid to rest. And so why the government would just not follow the right procedure, I cannot hazard a guess. And especially when the government has a supermajority in the House. So one doesn't know what is preventing the government from adhering to the provisions of the Constitution. And then my friend Christian from Natural Resource News is asking about non-alignment and the condemnation of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and all of that. What the point we've made is one that we are consistent with, and it's one that we hold on to, which is that Ghana's foreign policy has always been motivated by non-alignment, and Ghana's foreign policy is, over the years, been a balanced approach, and therefore, absolute declarations such as what is happening in Palestine is a genocide and the rest may risk aligning Ghana. I mean, we are not even getting to the business of whether it is or it is not. We are just talking about the extreme pronouncement. The jury is still out there whether the condemnation of Russia for invading Ukraine was extreme or not. I'm not too sure about that, but the jury is out there. But the policy of Ghana has always been non-aligned, and we think that the current declaration risks compromising that long-held foreign policy position of Ghana, which may have consequences on the national interests of our country. Then you asked about African nationals and hospitality. Again, that is not the gravamen of our argument at all. We are not getting into the merits or otherwise of accepting these deportees. Of course, the debate is still out there about whether or not Ghana should associate itself with the United States' policy on immigration. The African Union, for example, is taking a position on it. West African nations and ECOWAS has made pronouncements on it. European Union has made pronouncements on it. So whether or not Ghana should aid the United States in deporting Africans against their wishes is a debate that we can have. But the thrust of our argument is whatever conclusion we come to, we should follow the provisions of the Constitution. And I believe that if the government were to follow the provisions of the Constitution and lay this agreement before Parliament, we will all have the opportunity to have this debate on the floor of Parliament. So really, we are not really overly obsessed about whether we should accept them or not. But in accepting them, and whatever agreement we get into, the Constitution requires us to seek parliamentary ratification. That's what we are calling for. Thank you.
So I think that should be the end of
My
list of
deputy
questions.
ranking will be available to take.
Yes, but most of the stations that would want to engage further on this can engage with the deputy ranking, and then maybe even if you have to invite him on your shows, I'm sure he will be available to do so. But for now, we want to appreciate you very much. We are grateful for your time and for your platforms as well. So please stay and then let's discuss another parental matter. 15.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the rest in your mouth.
Thank you. You have to do the chew. I was actually hoping to do the cheese small. It's late. Yeah.
Then be ready.
And the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Samuel Abdullahi Jinapo, addressing the media regarding Ghana's agreement, or if you like, deal with the United States regarding some West African nationals who had been deported from the United States of America. The minority insists that the agreement should go to Parliament for ratification. However, the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, says it is an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, and does not necessarily require parliamentary ratification as of yet. We'll follow this conversation and bring you details on how it will pan out in our subsequent bulletins. I am Nana Tufuo Boateng. Many thanks for your time. Keep watching Channel 1 TV.